Hi everyone, good morning. So what we're going to do today for 1 hour, I'm just going to actually explain about laboratory since we're going to start your laboratory in week 15 kan for you guys. So you have a I'm going to just explain what you're going to do for the lab for you to have a better understanding of the laboratory. Okay, so at least that when you go to your lab with Madam Nurul Agma, you understand what you are doing. And most importantly is actually I would like to explain about the lab report so that at least bila kamu pergi lab, when you do the experiment, you actually understand what you're doing. And then when you're doing the lab report, it will be much easier for you. And then I will tell you as well lah, element dalam lab report, what's important so that not only you can use for this course, you can also use for other courses as well for the part yang lab report. Okay. So before that, I have explained this before previously dalam introductory course, but I will just explain again elemen yang ada dalam your laboratory. Okay, so your laboratory assessment, actually we have 3 parts. Okay, so first part, pre-laboratory assessment. Second, psychomotor assessment. Third, laboratory report. So laboratory report kamu, laboratory kamu kan represent 20%. So that 20% actually consists of 2% pre-lab, 8% psychomotor, means you masuk lab, you do your lab properly, actually out of 20% of your final grade, 8% tu kamu dah dapat, means 8 markah of your overall grade, you already get when you enter the lab and you do your experiment properly. So make sure you bring all your, make sure you wear your safety, your jacket, make sure you wear covered shoes, your lab shoes if you have, make sure you bring your helmet, make sure you bring your goggles, all the safety aspect. I expect you to follow carefully lah. Make sure all your safety gears, please make sure you bring to the lab during the experiment because it's also not only for your safety, it's also a criteria for your pre-lab psychomotor assessment. So means in the lab when you're doing your experiment, Madam Nurul Agma will assess also your skill during your lab. And then lastly, lab report. Okay, so kamu kena faham lab ni macam mini project juga, meaning you will assign yourself student 1, student 2, student 3 or student 4. Tetapi unlike mini project kamu stay student 1 throughout the project, right? Student 1, student 2, student 3 or student 4, both stage pun kamu stay as that number. Tapi dalam lab ni kamu rotate, meaning katakan lab first lab you are student 1, so second lab you jadi student 2, third lab you jadi student 4, student 3, fourth lab you jadi student 4. So you rotate among each other so that each lab tu kamu akan menjadi, you will become one number but the number will be rotated sebab kamu ada 4 student, 4 experiment. You only run 4 experiment. So 4 student, 4 experiment. So you just take turns and rotate. So why this is important is because macam mini project juga, lab report and assessment pun is done individually. Lab kamu run bersama, okay? Tapi pre-lab, lab report, psychomotor assessment is actually you will do it individually. Okay, but what I mean later I will explain to you. Tapi understanding dia, kamu buat lab bersama, hantar report pun satu report je. Macam mini project, each group will hantar one lab report. But each person has its own part in the lab report. Okay, so you know my style, right? I would like everybody to play a part in the group. So make sure that you do your part, then the group is fine. Okay, alright. Okay, so that's the understanding yang paling penting yang kamu kena faham dahulu. Okay. So assessment dia, as I said, kenapa kamu kena assign yourself the number is because as I told you dalam lab report, although you submit one lab report, tetapi you actually do one part of the lab report only. So this is because I know you have a lot of lab, kamu pun ada banyak assignment, banyak test, banyak mini project. So I just want to make sure that you you only do small part of the lab report. So for example, if you are student 1 for the experiment 1, katakan kamu experiment 1, okay, katakan kamu student 1, so for the experiment, student 1 just write down summary and result. Okay, so you record the result, nanti kamu tengok lab manual saya dah beritahu part mana untuk buat result. and then you do the summary. Okay, so again, don't forget lab manual, download yang latest kat WLE. Don't take from your seniors because I changed the lab manual. Bukannya I changed to make it more better for you to understand and better for you to report. So, okay, so back to this. Your student 1, you just do summary. I will teach you later apa tu summary. I will teach you later how to report the result. But you only do summary and you do result. Means you plot graph ke, buat table ke, so on and so forth. If you are student 2 for the experiment, you will just do discussion. Later I will teach you as well how to do discussion. So buat discussion je student 2. Okay, kalau you are student 3, you just do a conclusion recommendation. Okay, and if you are student 4, you will answer some tutorial question in your lab manual. So kalau kamu perasan sebenarnya reaction punya lab, my expectation is tak payah hantar lab report yang berpuluh-puluh page. Okay, nanti I will teach you what is important because I would like to train you to be a good engineer and technologist. Yang penting the information is concise, precise and fulfill apa yang dah nak is enough. So you don't need to write berpuluh-puluh page of lab report. It doesn't matter. No, it doesn't matter. It's not needed in reaction engineering. So I will explain later what do I mean by that. Okay, so if you realize each lab report tak banyak part pun yang kamu kena buat. Very little only. Maybe for those student yang kena buat discussion, maybe a little bit lah. Tapi yang the rest actually quite fine. So you just make sure you rotate. So means katakan this week lab 1 kamu student 1, okay, lab 2 kamu jadi student 2. So on and so forth until you do each part. Okay, so again each lab report pun kena compile lah. You still have to compile as one lab report. Right? Okay. Next one is kan kita ada 3 part, right? Kita ada lab report. Next is pre-lab. Okay. Pre-lab assessment ni kenapa saya suruh kamu buat is actually to prepare you before you enter the lab. Okay, what do I mean by that? Okay, again kamu kena ingat number kamu untuk lab tu. Let's say experiment 1, kalau kamu student 1, okay, kamu buat pre-lab untuk student 1. Kalau kamu student 2, for the experiment you buat pre-lab student 2, so on and so forth. So make sure kamu print and bawa masa lab lah. Okay, so kalau kamu tak I don't know whether you have a printer with you in the hostel or not. I forget to remind you to print it earlier. But kalau kamu, saya tak sure part ni. By right, you are supposed to print and bring it to the lab because this pre-lab is to prepare you for the experiment. I hope you have a printer or you can find somewhere or perhaps you can discuss dengan Madam Nurul Akmal lah. Maybe kamu just buat on mobile phone ke, bawa tunjuk kat Madam Nurul Akmal ke. I'm not too sure. Or maybe you email before you masuk lab. Kalau kamu tak boleh print, maybe you email to Madam Nurul Akmal before you masuk lab. I'm not too sure. If for those yang tak boleh print, maybe you have to discuss with Madam Nurul Akmal lah macam mana kamu nak hantar. But pre-lab has to be submitted when you enter the lab. Okay, kenapa? Okay, contohnya for student 1, if you are student 1 for the experiment, you are supposed to do all the calculation untuk chemical preparation. Okay, sebab nanti kamu kena prepare chemical and for reaction engineering lab dia, it really takes a lot of time sebab nak prepare chemical pun it takes easily 30 minutes to 1 hour sebab you will prepare chemical bukan seliter 2 liter. It takes you have to prepare up to 30 liter, some experiment until 50 liter of your chemical. So student 1, your task is to really calculate siap-siap chemical yang kamu kena prepare. Nanti I will show you how you're going to do the calculation. So make sure, sebab tu student 1 pre-lab tu dia kena kira dulu chemical so that nanti bila dah pergi lab dah boleh terus buat boleh terus prepare chemical. You won't spend time to do calculation. So Madam Nurul Akmal pun suruh pesan juga especially about this matter. All chemical calculation has to be done before you enter the lab. Jangan hari lab baru datang baru nak kira. Madam Nurul Akmal kata please make sure that you calculate first. Okay, if you don't know how to calculate or you're not sure, as always, you can just text me and ask me kalau kamu tak sure macam mana nak calculate. Okay, next, student 2. If you are student 2 for the experiment, you're supposed to summarize the procedure. Kenapa? So that during the lab time, student 2, you sort of your role during the experiment is the one that will instruct the experiment. So means student tu dia dah aware apa yang dia dah kena buat masa the experimental day itself. So student tu you kena baca dulu manual, you summarize the experimental procedure. Okay. Third, sample calculation. Student 3, what you do is, you have to do sample calculation first. Okay, dalam pre-lab assessment tu dalam VLE, all this pre-lab assessment dah ada dalam VLE, just download. Student 3, you will do sample calculation. Actually, sample calculation ni is to train you to know that apa yang kamu nak catat masa eksperimen. Means on the experiment day, student 3 dia akan catat segala result. Maknanya in a nutshell, student 1 masa eksperimen dia prepare chemical, student 2 dia familiar dengan prosedur semua, so dia tahu apa yang dia kena buat. Student 3 dia akan catat result. Okay, so means bila dia buat pre-lab ni dia dah tahulah macam mana dia nak catat result. So you have to do the pre-lab first. Okay, and then student 4, okay, student 4, you don't need to submit, you only submit your assessment, pre-lab assessment when the lab has ended. Maknanya dah habis eksperimen baru kamu submit kamu punya pre-lab. Kenapa? Student 4, you will do observation of the experiment and you will also do problem solving. So maksudnya masa eksperimen, okay, kalau kamu ada sebarang masalah masa eksperimen, you're supposed to observe and record down the observation. And if you have any problem during experiment, you will try to troubleshoot and report what you have done. Okay, I'm not sure if all of you can make it for the physical experiment, but if you cannot make it, means you cannot come for the experimental day, kamu still kena buat pre-lab. Okay, pre-lab you still have to do, so you have to do and then you submit to Madam Nurul Amar, discuss dengan Madam Nurul Amar lah how it goes for those yang tak datang physically for the lab. Okay, in my opinion, you still have to submit, but final decision dengan Madam Nurul Amar, sebab lab marks memang saya tak jaga langsung. Lab marks is entirely on Madam Nurul Amar. So any arrangement ke apa yang kamu nak buat, kamu kena check dengan Madam Nurul Amar. Okay, right. So next one is psychomotor assessment. Ni yang saya kata kamu punya final grade 8% ni of your final grade tu. Means kamu punya final grade yang 100 markah tu, 8 markah kamu sebenarnya dah dapat bila kamu masuk lab. Okay, so psychomotor ni as you can see dia ada kriteria dia lah. Make sure, that's why I say make sure you come to the lab with complete PPE, including goggles, including your helmet, your jacket, your boots and so on. Kalau kamu terlupa nak bawa balik, borrow from your friend, but you have to come with all these safety equipment. Sebab reaction punya lab, you might need to climb upstairs. Okay, kamu kena panjat tangga juga. Sebab tu kami suruh bawa goggles dengan helmet. Goggles sebab nak prepare chemicals. Helmet sebab you will need to do a little bit of climbing. Okay, and then follow the experimental procedures. Ada kriteria dia lah, you can see. Again, untuk psychomotor assessment ni satu group satu form. So one of you make sure you print out the form lah, one person, one per group. Yang tadi psychomotor assessment, setiap orang kena print part dia sendiri. Okay, so make sure you write clearly. Untuk eksperimen 1 ni, siapa student 1, siapa student 2, siapa student 3, siapa student 4. Sebab kalau kamu tak tulis clearly, then Madam Nurul Amar takkan tahu this experiment student mana number what. Sebab again, marks are given individually. So you are running experiment in a group, tetapi markah is individually. So make sure you write down properly. Okay, next one, chemical preparation. So dalam VLE, dalam lab manual dan juga dalam VLE, both lah. Okay, dalam VLE ada lab manual. I have this chemical preparation, appendix on this chemical preparation. Okay, so make sure you check this and again calculate, okay, chemical yang kamu perlukan. So basically, you will prepare untuk experiment. Okay, depends. Kalau experiment 1A, Okay, kalau eksperimen 1A, kamu kena prepare 3 types of chemical. Sodium hydroxide, ethyl acetate, hydrochloric acid. Okay, kalau eksperimen 1B, selain daripada eksperimen 1A, kamu hanya prepare ethyl acetate dengan sodium hydroxide. Okay, kenapa kamu kena prepare? Sebab they got certain concentration and certain volume yang kena prepare. So make sure kamu kira, okay, kamu akan prepare and then you will prepare the chemical. So again, sebab as I said, kamu kena prepare a large volume, 30 liter, 50 liter. So kalau kamu tak calculate dulu, kamu datang lab baru nak buat, the experiment takes a long time. One experiment reaction, 3 jam tu cukup-cukup lah. Sometimes it will take up to 4 and 5 hours. Sebab tu, I keep reminding you, prepare early. Kalau nanti kesian kamu kat lab 8 jam, 10 jam nanti kan. So I don't want, I kesankan kamu kalau kamu kena pergi lab terlalu lama. So make sure you prepare, kamu datang, kamu dah tunjuk Madam Nurul Ammah pengiraan. Then Madam Nurul Ammah will tell you where's the chemical, you can already prepare, you can already start the experiment. So the key is start experiment awal untuk reaction engineering. Okay. So I hope you understand this calculation. Tak apa, nanti kalau kamu tak faham ataupun kamu calculate, kamu nak saya check ke, you just contact me. I will help you to see whether you did the calculation correctly or not. So kamu kena check sebab ethyl acetate ni dia liquid. Okay, so kita ada daripada bottle, how much ethyl acetate. Tapi ethyl acetate dalam bottle ni dia punya molarity is 10.10. Molarity yang fresh ethyl acetate. Tapi dalam eksperimen kita, biasanya kita hanya perlu, we will prepare 0.1 molar. Lepas tu, kita prepare untuk 30 liter, 50 liter. So, kamu kena tahulah berapa banyak ethyl acetate dalam botol yang kamu kena ambil untuk dilute dengan water. Okay. Second, sodium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide ni dalam bentuk solid. Okay, so kamu sama. Kita nak prepare juga 0.1 molar of sodium hydroxide. And then again nak prepare untuk 30 liter ke, 50 liter ke, sometimes 9 liter pun ada. Okay. Same with hydrochloric acid. Okay. Next one, I will explain to you the experiment, not really about the experiment, about the result so that kamu faham sebenarnya apa yang kamu buat untuk eksperimen tu. Okay. So when you check your timetable for lab, okay, make sure you check experiment number eksperimen dan sama ada A atau B. Okay, eksperimen 1 sampai eksperimen 3, you got A or B, means 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, 3A, 3B. You will only do either one, means eksperimen 1 sama ada 1A atau 1B, 2A atau 2B, 3A atau 3B. So make sure you check properly sebab A or B is entirely different experiment. Menggunakan reaktor yang sama. Macam contohnya eksperimen 1, you use eksperimen 1 lain sikit. Okay, eksperimen 1 exception. Eksperimen 2, eksperimen 3. A dan B menggunakan reaktor yang sama. Tetapi jenis eksperimen yang dibuat adalah berlainan. So, katakan kamu check timetable kamu buat 1A. Check betul-betul dalam manual prosedur 1A. Okay, prosedur 1A, prosedur 1B berlainan. Sebab banyak kali sebelum ni student tengok yang salah dan timetable 1A. Dia pergi tengok manual 1B. Okay, something like that. So make sure you check properly dalam manual tu. Kita betul-betul dah pisahkan. If you're doing 1A, manual explanation about 1A. Kalau 1B, explanation about 1B, 2A, 2B. Okay, so make sure you check properly the experiment you're going to do. Sebab kalau tak nanti setting, the technician might do a little bit of setting to the system already. So, kamu tengok manual salah, dia dah buat setting yang lain, then eksperimen tu lagi akan delay eksperimen, masa eksperimen kamu. Okay, so for eksperimen 1, you're doing batch reactor. Tetapi, eksperimen 1A, dalam gambar ni adalah batch reactor kan. Eksperimen 1A, kamu tak menggunakan batch reactor dalam gambar ni. Eksperimen 1B sahaja you will use this batch reactor. Eksperimen 1A kamu akan buat bench scale, maksudnya eksperimen 1A we will still run batch reactor, tetapi our batch reactor is in the form of a beaker. So sort of kita kalau ingat dalam chapter 5 saya ajar kamu kan kita nak run eksperimen, kalau kita nak establish kinetic data, usually kita akan run eksperimen dalam lab, in the lab of a small scale batch reactor. So 1A tu kita guna beaker saja, with the assumption beaker tu adalah batch reactor kita. Okay, kalau eksperimen 1B, then you will use this batch reactor. So make sure bila pergi lab, okay, mungkin lab kamu kan guna lab 8 kot. Lab 8 lab yang panjang. You will see there's a lot of equipment. Batch reactor adalah equipment yang paling belakang sekali belah kiri. Mungkin kamu tak ingat lah. But when you go, just remember batch reactor is at the very back of the lab 7. Okay, right. This is just to explain a bit about results and results dan juga discussion. Okay, tak apa. Mungkin sekarang kamu tak faham sangat pun tak apa. Tapi later bila kamu dapat lab report, okay, I hope that you can see back the video and remember back macam apa yang kamu buat dan apa yang kamu nak report. Okay. Energies untuk eksperimen reaction engineering, we will run semua eksperimen 1 sampai eksperimen 4 pun sama. We will run saponification, tindak balas yang sama, which is saponification. So saponification ni adalah reaction between sodium hydroxide with ethyl acetate. Okay, so reaktan kamu sodium hydroxide, ethyl acetate. Sebab tu kamu prepare reaktan kamu prepare chemical kamu sodium hydroxide, ethyl acetate. Okay, so you will get the product is sodium acetate and ethanol. Okay, kan kita kata bila kita bila run reaction, kita kena monitor concentration kan? Kita kena monitor concentration. So especially concentration of our reactant. Okay, sebab tu dalam lab reaction pun kita akan monitor ataupun kita akan catat concentration of sodium hydroxide. Arti kata lain, sodium hydroxide itu adalah A kita, reactant A kita. So kita tak akan monitor concentration ethyl acetate. Kita tak akan monitor concentration product. Kita hanya akan monitor or we will record the concentration of sodium hydroxide, reactant A kita. Okay. So dalam eksperimen 1A, alright. Okay, kamu kena faham untuk kita nak monitor concentration, kamu kena faham concentration tu there are different way for us to obtain the concentration or to know the concentration. So dalam eksperimen 1A, dia akan menggunakan konsep titration. Dia akan titrate sebenarnya. Okay, you will use the concept of titration. Okay, you will record how much amount that you titrate. And from that amount of titrate tu, kamu akan tahu concentration of sodium hydroxide. Okay, which is our reactant A. Maksudnya kita nak tahulah, okay, pada minit kosong, okay, kamu punya concentration asal sodium hydroxide tu 0.05. Bila kamu prepare concentration yang awal tu, initial concentration dia 0.05 molar. Okay. Lepas tu untuk minit ke-5, minit ke-10, okay, kamu akan ambil keluar sampel, kamu akan buat titration untuk tahu berapa NaOH yang tinggal dalam reaktor kamu masa tindak balas. So means kalau asal 0.05 dalam minit ke-5, of course the concentration will decrease. Minit ke-10 lagi decrease, so on and so forth. So daripada titration tu, you will calculate the concentration of sodium hydroxide. So setiap 5 minit kamu ambil keluar sampel, kamu titrate, kita tahu berapa NaOH yang tinggal. Minit ke-10 do the same thing. Okay. So that's how you will get concentration of sodium hydroxide with the time. Then kamu kira conversion lah. So conversion kamu tahu kan, conversion saya nak kira, conversion will be initial concentration sodium hydroxide minus concentration untuk minit yang kamu nak kira, bahagi balik dengan initial concentration of sodium hydroxide. Maksudnya 0.05 minus, katakan minit ke-5 concentration sodium hydroxide tinggal 0.04. So means 0.05 minus 0.04 divided again by 0.05, you times with 100, you will get the conversion. So kamu dah pernah belajar kan, dengan masa concentration reactant akan turun dan conversion akan naik sebab lebih banyak sodium hydroxide consume, of course the conversion will increase. So yang student yang buat result, okay, kamu kena catat table ni. Okay, lepas tu kamu kenalah the result, you have to plot the graph. So graph yang kamu kena plot adalah graph conversion versus time. Okay, so student 2 akan plot catat result, plot the graph. Student 3, kerja kamu, your part, student 3 discussion kan, kamu kena discuss lah, okay, apa perkaitan antara conversion dengan masa. Okay, so theoretically you have learned kan, with time the conversion will increase because more of your reactant will be consumed. However, later I will teach you how to address, katakanlah kamu dapat conversion tu turun atau naik, tak ikut teori, what will you need to do? Okay, I will teach you later how to address kalau result tak mengikut teori yang kamu dah belajar. Okay, so next is untuk result. Okay, untuk student 1A, alright, student 1A, for experiment 1A, one more part that you need to do, target untuk eksperimen 1A ni ialah sebenarnya dia nak kita kira nilai K. Kamu dah belajar kan reaction rate constant. Okay. So reaction rate constant ni, okay, kita buat eksperimen, kita nak tahu nilai K. So eksperimen 1A, from your result of the experiment, okay, kamu akan kira nilai K menggunakan dua method yang berbeza. Dan lepas tu kita bandingkan nilai K ni. Sepatutnya, although you are using two different method of calculation, tetapi based on same experiment, your value K should not be different. So, tu teori dia. Kita guna asalkan eksperimen yang sama, although saya kira menggunakan dua metod yang berlainan, nilai K tu sepatutnya sama. So, kamu kira lah. Kalau tak sama, then kamu kena address lah kenapa nilai K ni tak sama. Okay, so what are these two methods? The first method is using integrated rate law method. Integrated rate law method ni kita belajar dalam chapter 5. Okay, this reaction is a second order reaction. So kalau second order reaction, persamaan dia, integral equation dia is given on this left hand side. Okay, so maksudnya bila kamu nak kira K menggunakan integrated rate law method, you're supposed to plot graph 1/CA melawan time. Kamu tengok equation tu kata kamu kena plot 1/CA, 1 per sodium hydroxide punya concentration. NaOH tu adalah A kamu, saya tulis NaOH, tapi kamu kena faham NaOH tu adalah kamu A, reactant A kamu. So you will plot 1/CA versus time. Okay, daripada result eksperimen tu kamu plot. And then K tu adalah sebenarnya kamu punya gradient. Ni saya bagi contoh. Okay, maknanya your K is your gradient. So maksudnya K kamu sama dengan 1.6486. Unit kamu kena check sendiri. Saya nak you need to know how to know the you need to find out how to know the unit of K dalam case ni. Okay, next. Half-life method. Half-life method kamu dah pernah belajar kan? So half-life method kamu kena plot pula CA melawan time. Lepas tu kamu cari half-life dia. Half-life dia adalah, as I told you before, berapa masa yang diperlukan untuk kepekatan asal NaOH kamu menjadi separuh. Means berapa masa diperlukan untuk concentration NaOH kamu yang tadi daripada 0.05 menjadi 0.025. Berapa masa yang diperlukan? That is your T half. Okay, so plot graph, you cari T half. Again, guna equation half-life ni, kamu cari nilai K. So, kamu bandingkan kedua nilai K ni, then kamu buat, if it's the same, theoretically it should be the same. If not, you have to address why. Okay, so untuk yang buat lab report, yang plot graph dan pengiraan adalah student 2. Student 3 dia discuss sahaja. Means student 2 for the experiment, semua pengiraan, every calculation, every graph yang nak kena plot is actually the task of student 2. Student 3, you get the plot from the student 2. Your task is to just to discuss the result that was already done by student 2. Okay, next one, experiment 1B. Experiment 1B, you will use the batch reactor yang sebenar. Okay, so 1B ni kita study effect of temperature. Okay, kita nak kaji how does the temperature affects our reaction. Okay, so nanti kamu prepare solution, kamu perasan kamu akan prepare 6 liter sodium hydroxide, 6 liter ethyl acetate. Okay, tetapi for each kamu akan buat dua suhu yang berlainan, meaning katakan pada suhu it depends on Madam Nurul Amah, she will tell you apa suhu yang kamu akan guna on the lab day itself. Okay, so katakan kamu run experiment at 40 Celsius. So 40 Celsius, you will use 3 liter of sodium hydroxide, 3 liter of ethyl acetate. Run the experiment, dah habis, pour out, keluarkan reaktor keluarkan reaktor yang asal tu, masuk balik fresh solution. So kamu akan guna remaining 3 liter. Sebab tu kamu prepare 6 because each temperature you will use 3 liter each. Okay, so that means data table ni kamu akan ada 2 table yang berlainan. Okay, satu table untuk satu temperature. Okay, next one kamu kena faham is on the concentration. Okay, untuk eksperimen 1A kita akan tahu concentration menggunakan titration. Okay, untuk eksperimen selain daripada 1A, to know the concentration of your sodium hydroxide, your reactant A, kita guna conductivity. Okay, we will measure our concentration using conductivity. Okay, so macam mana kita nak tahu benda tu? Okay. So, you know that concentration you tak boleh directly measure. Okay, so but from the conductivity reading, we can know the concentration. So, how do I do that? Okay, so masa eksperimen nanti, kamu catat dulu conductivity dia. Okay, the conductivity reading you will check. Okay, you will write down. Kalau eksperimen 1B, equipment tu conductivity meter dia dah rosak. So you have to manually get the sample and check guna probe. On the side of your batch reactor tu ada conductivity probe. So setiap 5 minit kamu keluarkan sampel, kamu check conductivity. Setiap 5 minit take out, check conductivity. Make sure, okay, odor, sodium hydroxide, saya tak ada kata odor. Sodium hydroxide and ethyl acetates are chemical. Every time when you take out sample, kamu nak touch chemical, please make sure you wear glove. Sebab macam previous semester student ambil keluar chemical tak pakai glove. Make sure you wear glove. Make sure you wear your goggles. Nanti terpecik kena mata is another matter. Please make sure you adhere to all these safety procedures. Okay, so back to here. So setiap 5 minit kamu ambil keluar sampel, nanti Madam Nurul Amah will teach you macam mana nak keluarkan sampel. Take out sampel, check conductivity, catat dulu conductivity punya reading. Okay. So daripada conductivity, macam nak dapat concentration. Okay, nanti dalam lab manual kamu perasan kita dah is given the table of calibration curve. Maksudnya kita kena plot lah calibration curve. Okay, daripada table ni dia beri kita standard. Kalau concentration sodium hydroxide 0.05, conductivity dia 10.7, kalau and so on and so forth. So daripada table ni kamu dah boleh plot calibration curve. Okay, so salah satu cara saya beritahu kamu tips. Salah satu cara nak tahu kalau kamu prepare chemical kamu tu betul atau tidak, sebab kamu akan prepare concentration dalam reactor tu. Okay, kamu kena faham pula. Saya akan beritahu satu sikit. You will prepare actually 0.1 molar sodium hydroxide, 0.1 molar ethyl acetate. Equal volume. Okay, means 0.1 ethyl acetate. Katakan 5 liter. Dan kamu prepare juga 0.1 molar sodium hydroxide, 5 liter. So bila kamu masuk dalam reactor, concentrate dia punya volume jadi double, right? Sebab 5 liter, volume jadi double. Kepekatan tu akan jadi separuh, half of its original concentration. Means dalam reaktor tu sebenarnya akan ada 0.05 molar 10 liter solution of ethyl acetate and 0.05 molar sodium hydroxide of a 10 liter. Sebab kamu dah campur dalam reaktor kedua-dua reaktor itu. So, kenapa saya beritahu itu? Sebab meaning dalam reaktor tu concentration sodium hydroxide kamu 0.05. So kalau kepekatan asal 0.05, conductivity dia mesti antara 10.7 or mungkin sikit atas sikit bawah, about 11, 10.5 to 11 conductivity dia. So bila katakanlah bila eksperimen mula kamu check conductivity tu dah ke 20 ke 30 ke, confirm kamu prepare solution salah. Okay, so you already can know whether kamu prepare solution tu salah atau betul. Check dulu conductivity pada masa asal. Conductivity dia is about 10.5 to 11. Kalau salah pun tak, sikit salah pun maybe up to 12 lah. But anything more than 12 or below 10 means kamu either dah prepare terlebih solution atau tak cukup solution. Okay, so that's one. Two, macam mana nak tahu sodium hydroxide tu dah habis bertindak balas ataupun macam mana nak tahu tindak balas tu dah habis. Okay, kita kan kita nak tahu tindak balas tu dah habis ke tak, kita tengok kita boleh tahu daripada concentration sodium hydroxide because dia kan consume, meaning kalau dia dah habis bertindak balas, dah tak ada sodium hydroxide dalam kita punya reaktor. So how do we know? Tengoklah conductivity. Cuba kamu tengok table ni. Dia kata kalau concentration sodium hydroxide kamu 0, conductivity dia adalah 4, which is basically water sebenarnya. Sebab kamu akan dilute dengan water kamu punya reactant. So, erti kata lain, if your conductivity is below 4, you can stop the experiment. Means dah tak ada pun sodium hydroxide dalam kamu punya solution ataupun dah habis sodium hydroxide bertindak balas. So, that's one way to check. Nak tahu dah habis tak eksperimen tu, conductivity turun bawah 4. Okay, because as you see from the table, below 4 meaning there's no more sodium hydroxide. Okay, so that's one way. Right, so then macam mana kita nak tahu pula kepekatan reaktan kita dalam tindak balas? Okay, menggunakan table calibration curve ni, kamu plot graph kan? Kamu plot graph conductivity melawan concentration. Okay, so kamu guna Excel lah, kamu plot. Kamu akan dapat persamaan dia kan? So the equation will tell us y-axis ni mewakili conductivity. Okay, 140 ni gradient lah. X concentration, 4 ni pintasan Y. Okay, maksudnya daripada result kamu ni, okay, katakan masa eksperimen kamu catat, katakan conductivity kamu 0.8. Katakan 0.8 tak sangat. Katakan kamu run, kamu check conductivity kamu, katakan 9. Okay, so masuk dalam persamaan ni, 9 tu conductivity kan. So Y ni mewakili 9 conductivity kamu. So, kamu dapatlah X. X tu adalah concentration yang kamu run lah. Means conductivity 9. Berapa concentration dia. Kamu gunalah persamaan daripada calibration curve. So, this apply to experiment 1B, 2A, 2B, 3A, 3B, 4. So, conductivity, catat dulu conductivity. Nanti balik rumah, plot calibration curve. Okay, guna persamaan tu, kira kamu punya concentration sendiri. Okay. So then, student tu bila kamu dah buat ni, kamu kena plot juga. Okay, sama. Kamu kena plot conversion melawan masa tetapi sebab kita ada dua temperature yang berlainan, kita akan ada dua graf yang berlainan. Okay, satu graf untuk katakan suhu 40 Celsius, satu graf lagi untuk suhu katakan 60 Celsius. So you will plot conversion melawan time for 40 Celsius, conversion melawan time untuk 60 Celsius. So, kamu ada dua table yang berlainan. Okay. So, the gist, I will tell you macam mana nak tahu concentration daripada conductivity. Kedua, I tell you macam mana nak estimate kamu prepare concentration tu betul ke tak. Tengok conductivity. Conductivity asal about 10 to 12. Okay. Third, nak tahu eksperimen tu dah habis ke belum, conductivity turun bawah 4. Then make sure juga, katakanlah kamu tengok, kenapa kamu punya conductivity asal tu terlalu tinggi. Okay, sometimes you prepare wrongly. So kalau, depends on Madam Nurul Aghmar. Kalau macam saya, kalau kamu prepare wrongly, katakan terlalu tinggi conductivity, saya suruh dilute je, tambah air, dilute, tengok balik conductivity sampai dapat conductivity about 10 to 12. Okay, so kalau concentration tak cukup, samalah tambah solution, adjust balik conductivity dia. Dua, sometimes you make sure that you kacau betul-betul sebab kamu akan prepare dalam tank tau. Macam eksperimen 2, 3 dan 4, kamu akan prepare dalam tank. Tank tu 50 liter. So sometimes kalau you don't mix it well, concentration tu tak evenly distributed. So bila kamu letak dalam tank tu, make sure kamu kacau, make sure you mix it so that the concentration is evenly distributed. Then only you will get a good, a proper, a correct conductivity. Okay, then next. Untuk eksperimen 1B, okay, saya mengejar masa. Eksperimen 1B, kamu akan actually again kira nilai K. Eksperimen 1B, kita kan sebenarnya nak akan mengira nilai EA dan A yang daripada Arrhenius tu. So macam mana kita kira? Untuk setiap temperature, kamu akan dapat nilai K. Maksudnya, pada suhu 40, okay, kamu akan plot graph. Daripada plot graph, kamu akan dapat K pada 40 Celsius. You plot one more graph, you will get K at 50 Celsius. So you get K1 T1, K2 T2 kan. From that data, you will plot a tertiary graph, satu lagi graph. Daripada graph ni, kamu akan tahu nilai EA dan nilai A kamu. So konsep dia, kenapa kita ubah suhu, kita nak dapatkan K. K kan berubah dengan suhu. So kita tahu K pada 40 Celsius, K pada 50 Celsius. Saya plot satu lagi graph, saya akan tahu nilai EA dan A. Okay, tak apa kalau at least semua kamu tak faham tak apa. Nanti slide ni saya letak dalam ULE. Bila kamu dapat result ataupun sebelum kamu masuk lab, kamu tengok balik untuk kamu faham sebenarnya apa yang kamu nak buat. So basically, nak tahu EA, nak tahu A berdasarkan your experimental result. Okay, eksperimen 2A, tadi one is batch, eksperimen 2 is CSTR. So kalau kamu perasan dalam gambar, belah kiri kalau kamu nampak dua tank yang besar ni, dua tank ni yang kamu kena isi dengan solution. CSTR saya rasa kamu kena isi 20 liter. Yang ni kamu kena panjat sebab dia punya inlet nak masuk solution tu kat atas. So kamu kena prepare 20 liter ethyl acetate, 20 liter sodium hydroxide. Yang inilah sebenarnya mengambil banyak sangat masa untuk kamu prepare. So similarly, kamu kena check kamu buat eksperimen 2A ke 2B. Apa beza dia? You will do either one, salah satu sahaja. Kamu tak buat dua-dua. Beza dia eksperimen 2A, kita kaji efek residence time ataupun erti kata lain kita kaji efek residence time lah. Kita akan manipulate flow rate. Kita akan guna dua flow rate yang berlainan sebab CSTR kan open system. So kita akan guna dua flow rate yang berlainan. Katakan contoh 200 ml per minit, satu lagi katakan 400 ml per minit. So kamu tahu kan kalau daripada flow rate kita boleh kira residence time sebab residence time is volume per volumetric flow rate. Okay, so by right kalau kita guna 200 ml per minute flow rate, residence time dia akan lebih panjang. Slower flow rate, longer residence time. Faster flow rate, maknanya flow rate yang lebih laju, residence time jadi lebih singkat. So kita akan kaji perbezaan dia bila kita guna flow rate laju dengan flow rate perlahan terhadap tindak balas kita. Tu 2A. Kalau 2B, sama macam 1B. Kita kaji kesan suhu terhadap tindak balas kita. Okay, so untuk eksperimen 2A pun conductivity dia tak payah check manually. Cut probe, the conductivity probe is already in the reactor itself. Kamu baca je kat board tu, kat dia punya recording board tu, berapa conductivity dia. So CSTR kamu tak payah manually keluar sampel untuk check. CSTR bacaan semua kat board, just catat bacaan daripada board, tapi konsep sama. Daripada board tu dia hanya beri kamu your conductivity. Okay, balik plot calibration curve, kira sendiri daripada calibration curve berapa concentration kamu and then calculate kamu punya conversion. Okay, then next. Okay, maksudnya bila kamu menggunakan dua flow rate berbeza, kamu akan dapat dua residence time yang berbeza. Okay, so S1 je lah kita nak kaji kesan residence time terhadap kita punya conversion terhadap conversion reactor kita. Okay, so nanti kamu akan plot juga, kamu akan ada dua table yang berlainan sebab satu table untuk satu flow rate. Means sebab tu saya kata dah ambil banyak masa kan, sebab kamu kena run flow rate pertama, dah habis tukar flow rate kedua, run lagi. So nak tahu macam mana dah habis tak eksperimen tu, conductivity turun bawah 4 means dah habis eksperimen tu. Means katakan flow rate pertama kamu monitor conductivity, dia turun bawah 4, you can already go to the next flow rate. Selagi belum turun bawah 4, kamu tunggulah. Means masih ada lagi sodium hydroxide yang belum habis bertindak balas. Okay, so you have two table, you will plot two different graph. Okay, graph untuk residence time pertama, graph untuk residence time kedua. Lepas tu kamu akan kira nilai K and nilai minus RE. So again, as I repeat, student 2 segala pengiraan kamu kena buat. Student 3 kamu kena discuss. So that's why it's fair. Hanya satu eksperimen je. Sekali je kamu akan jadi student 2. Okay, means kamu akan take turn untuk menjadi student 2. Sebab sebenarnya student 2 lah yang banyak sikit kerja lah. But only one experiment. The next experiment kamu dah tak jadi student 2 dah. Okay, so to be fair to all. Right? So all this information, nak plot graph, equation, semua dah ada dalam lab manual. Sebab tu saya buat balik lab manual so that you can really clear what you need to do for your lab. Termasuk equation semua pun saya dah masuk. And I do this briefing to help you to understand even better. Okay? Eksperimen 2B macam 2A, just that kita maintain flow rate, kita tukar suhu. So eksperimen 2A, kita tukar flow rate, kita maintain suhu. Eksperimen 2B terbalik, kita maintain flow rate, we will change temperature. So same concept. Saya run set pertama, katakan pada suhu 50 Celsius. Okay, saya run sampai conversion, sampai conductivity below 4. Then you change the next temperature, run balik. So usually lama. Usually on estimation, kenapa saya kata 3 jam? Sebab prepare chemical dah sejam. Temperature pertama jam kedua, temperature ketiga jam ketiga. Then you don't forget, you still need to do the cleaning up of the reactor, which takes another 30 to 1 hour. That's why experiment reaction 3 ke 4 jam sebab ni. Sebab tu saya kata prepare chemical, make sure dah calculate, datang lab, terus buat dengan cepat so that you can start. Okay, right, so same concept. Catat conductivity, okay, lepas tu cari concentration, plot the graph, and then untuk temperature punya eksperimen, kita kena cari K dan kemudian kita cari EA dan A. Okay, so don't worry, tak apa, semua ni ada dalam lab manual. It's just that I like you to familiar lah apa yang kamu kena buat. Okay, slide ni nanti saya akan letak dalam VLE as a guidance when you want to do your discussion. Okay. Next experiment 3 sama, 3A residence time, 3B temperature, tapi beza dia kita guna PFR. So this in the diagram, this is your PFR. Kalau kamu nampak kat belakang ada 3 tank kan, okay, nampak 2 tank yang besar kat belakang tu, 2 tank ni kamu kena fill up 30 liter, 30 ke 50 30 liter. Kalau if I remember correctly, 30 liter of ethyl acetate, 30 liter of sodium hydroxide. 2 tank kat bawah ni adalah feed tank. So solution kamu prepare tu kamu kena letak dalam feed tank. Nanti baru kita pump masuk dalam PFR kamu. PFR kamu yang kamu nampak yang panjang silinder ni, yang melingkar kat dalam tu adalah PFR kamu. Yang kat luar tu adalah heating jacket kamu. Kan nanti kita kaji kesan suhu kan, sebab tu kita akan naikkan suhu. So the outer vessel is your heating jacket and we will use water as your heating fluid. So your PFR is actually the one called inside of your PFR, and then dia akan masuk daripada bawah keluar ke atas. You will go out to your product tank. Yang tank ketiga tu adalah product tank kamu. So feed tank, pump masuk reaktor, keluar balik kat product tank. So the only difference, you use PFR, tetapi eksperimen dia sama je. Eksperimen pertama kaji effect of residence time, eksperimen kedua kaji effect of flow temperature. Conductivity pun tak payah check manually, dia dah ada board. Dalam board tu kamu tengok je and you will record the reading. So it's the role of student yang catat result tu lah, untuk make sure kamu betul-betul catat result yang betul. Okay, so this one saya pergi cepat sikit lah sebab tak ada apa-apa pun, sama je macam CSTR, just that sekarang kamu guna PFR. So you will discuss the effect of temperature and you will discuss effect of residence time. So apa kesan dia, apa kesan bila kita tukar residence time terhadap conversion kita? Adakah conversion kita semakin tinggi, conversion kita semakin rendah, ataupun juga kesan residence time terhadap nilai K dan terhadap minus RA kamu. So konsep dia kamu tahu kan, the longer, the higher the residence time means lagi lama sodium hydroxide dalam reactor. So by right, the longer it stays in the reactor, the higher conversion it will be. Okay, so and by right, technically, the value, the rate of reaction will also increase. Okay, right. So next is on the experiment 4. So experiment 4, this experiment will take the longest time. On average, eksperimen 4 ni kalau habis bawah 4 jam memang hebat lah, sebab eksperimen 4 takes a lot of time. Kenapa? Sebab you will study 3 types of reactor and then kamu tak boleh run serentak, kamu kena run one by one. So means lepas run single CSTR, baru boleh run 3 CSTR in series, baru boleh run PFR. So satu reaktor tu usually ambil masa sejam. Prepare chemical lagi sejam. So that's why it takes 3 to 4 hours. So memang I tell you, memang reaction punya lab memang panjang. That's why saya sedangkan lab report, to be fair, sebab kamu dah spend so much time in the lab. Tapi masa kamu spend kat lab tu, kamu dah dapat 8 markah of your overall grade. Okay, lab report pun dah senang. So means the concept is lab tu is actually to really help your grade. So make sure you do it correctly lah. Okay, so the types of reactor that you will study, this is the single CSTR. You will study 3 CSTR in series. You will study PFR. So kita akan run lah eksperimen yang sama, flow rate yang sama, tetapi kita run pada 3 reaktor yang berlainan. Sebab nanti kamu akan fill up the table, 3 table yang berlainan. Again, nak tahu bila dah habis tak eksperimen tu, ataupun bila dah habis tak reaction tu, bila conductivity dia turun bawah 4. Okay, turun bawah 4, no more sodium hydroxide, you can switch to the next reactor. Okay, so sama konsep. Conductivity dapat daripada reading, kamu catat balik, buat calibration curve, calculate your concentration. Okay, result dia tak susah sangat nak calculate. Okay, kamu just kena calculate K minus RA, okay, dan juga Dam-Collar number. Untuk 3 CSTR in series, kamu kena calculate Dam-Collar number. Don't worry, dalam lab manual dah bagi equation, dah terangkan juga apa yang kamu kena calculate. And then lastly, untuk PFR, sama je. Kamu kena calculate K, calculate minus RA. Equation dah diberi, make sure kamu tahu sahaja data daripada table dan nak guna equation untuk calculate. Student 3, kamu kena discuss these numbers. Okay, kamu kena discuss perbandingan antara nilai K CSTR, nilai K PFR, nilai K 3 CSTR in series. Okay, minus RA pun kamu bandingkan minus RA untuk ketiga-tiga reaktor ni. So, ideally kita nak reaktor dengan K yang tinggi dan minus RA yang tinggi lah sebenarnya. Sebenarnya minus RA, K not so much. K reaction rate constant. Yes. Both also you want, the higher it is, the better configuration of the reactor. Okay, so done on the experiment details. Okay, if you find this a bit jarring for you, is okay, sebab memang tak buat eksperimen, memang tak boleh imagine sangat kot. Tapi at least you get the idea lah apa yang kamu nak buat, dan apa data yang kamu nak record, dan apa yang kamu kena take care during the experiment. Okay, now I help you to explain on lab report, sebab selalunya memang your seniors will always says that one of the problem is tak tahu macam nak tulis lab report. Okay, so my concept, okay, is you don't need to write a long lab report. The idea is bukan lab report, tak, quality lab report bukan dikira berdasarkan berat lab report. Okay, so don't assume kena tulis panjang untuk dapat markah yang baik. Sebenarnya yang penting you must hit the right point in the lab report. Okay, sebab so dalam lab report saya, dalam report reaction, senang je. Kamu kena buat abstract, Tak payah introduction, tak payah methodology. Terus pergi kepada result, means calculate result, plot graph. Third, terus discuss. 4, jawab tutorial question. 5, conclusion recommendation. So, kalau lab report standard untuk reaction ni less than 10 page. Tapi depends lah, kalau result kamu banyak, mungkin banyak sikit lah. Okay, first, abstract. So, untuk student 1, for that week, if you are supposed to do abstract ni tak panjang pun, satu paragraph saja, antara 250 to 300 words sahaja. Okay, so abstract ni apa yang kamu kena, what you need to write? 4 things only. First, why? Why tu maksudnya apa purpose kamu buat eksperimen tu. Contohnya, katakan eksperimen 1B. So the purpose of the experiment is to investigate the effect of temperature for the saponification reaction in a batch reactor. Dan satu ayat untuk cover part why. Second, method. So the experiment is conducted using a batch reactor of which we change the temperature of 40 Celsius and 50 Celsius. Dan ayat kedua dah settle. Ketiga, result. Result ni bukanlah rekod segala result. Report apa signifikan. Contohnya, it is found from the study that at 40 Celsius, the highest conversion achieved is 80%. However, at 50 Celsius, the highest conversion is 90%. Dan, itu cerita lagi lah. Okay, we obtain the value of K, blah, blah, blah. Just report yang penting, finding yang penting sahaja. Dan keempat, conclusion. So conclusion contohnya, it is inconclusive. We can conclude that temperature affects the rate of reaction, of which temperature increases the rate of reaction. Dan sebab tu abstract tak payah pun berpage-page. Satu paragraph 250 to 300. You just hit what you need to hit. Ya, ayat saja pelik. You need to summarize apa yang penting supaya saya tak baca lab report, saya tak baca lagi pun saya dah faham sebenarnya apa yang kamu nak report dalam lab report kamu. So, this is an example of an excellent abstract from your senior itself. So, kamu tengok tak panjang kan? So, dia just touch why, how, means why is the objective, how to methodology, apa yang penting dalam result, and dia buat terus conclusion. Apa conclusion yang kita nak capai? So conclusion tu menjawab balik why kamu. Sebab why kamu katakan dalam summary ni, why dia adalah kaji performance 3 reaktor yang berlainan tu, eksperimen 4. So conclusion ni dia beritahu, okay, daripada result saya conclude reaktor PFR terbaik. Dan so dia why conclusion tu menjawab balik why kamu buat eksperimen ni. Okay, so abstract doesn't need to be that long. Okay, result. Okay, so result bila kamu nak buat reporting, make sure kamu tahu ni. Okay, ni is very important. Okay, kalau kamu nak buat table, okay, when you have the table, make sure ada title. Kalau table, title di atas. Kalau graph, title di bawah. Okay, itu beza dia. Bila kamu buat FYP, kamu buat mini project, sama je. Table, title atas. Kalau graph, title kat bawah. Then make sure, okay, mesti ada title lah kan. Okay, make sure kamu record setiap heading tu ada unit. Maknanya time, minute, okay, amount, ml, concentration, molar, conversion, percent. So make sure you write down clearly the unit and significant figure, titik perpuluhan. Kamu kena konsisten. Katakan kalau kamu guna 2 titik perpuluhan, semua kena 2 titik perpuluhan. Kalau 1 titik perpuluhan, semua 1 titik perpuluhan. Make sure you consistent in the numbering significant figures tu, kamu kena consistent. Okay, itu that's for table. For graph, graph pun ramai student mungkin terlepas pandang. Okay, graph, make sure yang paling penting plot part CY, part CX, make sure label dengan lengkap dengan unit sekali. So biasa student saya perasan plot graph tak ada unit. So part CY label, part CX label, unit dan title di bawah. Title bukan di dalam graph, title di bawah graph. So dalam graph tu tak payah title pun, title kat bawah graph. Okay, make sure kalau kamu plot 2 graf yang berlainan, dalam satu graf 2 data berlainan, legend tu kena ada, simbol tu kena clearly. Okay, so Yang penting yang saya perasan biasa student terlepas adalah unit untuk label untuk Pak C dan title. Student kadang-kadang terlepas letak title of your graph. Okay. So table title di atas, figure title di bawah. Okay. Next one. Saya tinggal 2 minit. Okay. Result discussion. Okay. So apa yang kamu sebenarnya kena discuss dalam result, actually ada 6 benda yang kamu kena tahu. First, bila kamu ada result, sebelum kamu nak tunjuk result tu, katakan kamu nak tunjuk graph tu, introduce dulu, tulis dulu. Okay, shown below is the figure for the graph that shows the conversion versus time. Okay, introduce dulu graph tu. Kedua, kamu describe graph tu. Katakan conversion kan, okay, identify dulu. It is seen that the conversion increase with temperature, of which the highest conversion is achieved at minute 60. So kamu describe dulu kamu punya result tu daripada graph tu katakan. Ketiga, baru kamu compare result eksperimen dengan teori. Katakan kamu belajar teori, saya ajar kamu conversion kena increase dengan masa. So katakan kamu dapat, kamu tulislah. It is seen that the conversion increase with time, which is consistent with the theory that states the conversion must increase as sodium hydroxide is consumed during the reaction. Okay, so first introduce, kedua terangkan trend, ketiga explain trend tu ikut tak teori yang kamu dah belajar atau tidak. Okay, lepas tu baru explain lah teori tu. Kalau ikut tak ikut teori is fine. Tahu, katakan kamu dapat graf patutnya naik. Kamu dapat tak naik, tak apa. Kamu cakap je tak, it's not accordance to the theory. Tapi explain dulu teori tu. Okay, lepas tu explain teori. Kalau katakan result kamu tak ikut trend, kamu terangkan kenapa, ataupun kadang-kadang kalau kamu tak sure, kamu just suggest saja reason kenapa tak ikut trend. So it is very fine kalau result kamu tak ikut trend, tapi yang penting kamu kena explain, ataupun kalau kamu tak sure pun kamu just suggest reason-reason yang possible kenapa kita tak mengikut trend. So that's more important tau. So it's more important is student tahu teori, sepatutnya result saya macam ni, kalau saya tak ikut kenapa. Tu je. Kenapa tu can be right, can be wrong is very fine for me as personally. Yang penting student boleh offer idea dia sendiri kenapa benda ni boleh terjadi. Salah atau betul, for me personally, you won't be punished for saying something right or wrong. Tapi kalau tak cakap apa-apa tu salah. If you don't suggest any explanation, that is wrong. If you suggest any explanation, right or wrong, it doesn't matter to me as long as you can offer suggestion. Okay, lepas tu, last part tu, kamu relate balik dengan objektif kamu. Kamu relate balik dengan objektif eksperimen kamu. And then lastly, okay, kamu kena analyse experimental error. Okay, part ni saya skip this slide, kamu boleh tengok sendiri. Saya nak talk about experimental error sebab student kalau experimental error, saya dah mengajar dah hampir 10 tahun. Every time eksperimen, student akan beritahu experimental error dia adalah parallax error, salah prepare solution. Tu je experimental error yang student selalu akan discuss. Tapi sebenarnya tak. You have to actually discuss about more than just human error. Eksperimen ada banyak error. Okay, but we tend to discuss human error, tapi we do not discuss instrumental error, instrument tu sendiri. So yang penting sebenarnya as a technologist or engineer, you're supposed to discuss the instrument. Apakah masalah dengan instrument tu? Sebab human error is something that probably you cannot avoid, but instrument error is something that we can improve. Katakan kita kena pasti ni masalah dia dengan instrument, this is something that we can fix, which is something that you should actually be able to suggest. So contohnya katakanlah you find out flow rate kamu tu fluctuate. Okay, katakan kamu set flow rate 100 ml per minute, tapi flow rate ni kejap turun, kejap naik, kejap turun, kejap naik. So this is a unstable flow rate. Unstable flow rate maksudnya residence time kamu pun takkan stable. So means residence time kamu kejap naik, kejap turun. So this will affect your reaction. Okay, so that is instrument error. Or contohnya katakan kamu tengok conductivity kamu bacaan turun naik. That also can be a problem. Ataupun contoh dia kamu tengok valve kamu tu bocor, leaking valve. Kamu tengok liquid keluar solution, leaking valve. Error. Ataupun contohnya temperature. Okay, kita set temperature tapi kamu tengok temperature tu heating dia tak bagus, temperature pun fluctuate. Or you can see sometimes katakan kamu prepare solution kamu tu tak prepare, kamu tak mix well. So kalau solution tak mix well, it will also affect the reaction. Okay, so that's why it's important masa kamu buat eksperimen, kamu observe benda-benda yang macam ni, bukan observe human error. Human error tu is very well known. Instrument error tu yang kamu sebenarnya kena fokus, sebab that's what actually we can troubleshoot, and that's mostly contributed to the experimental error adalah sebenarnya instrumental error. Okay, so that's why I tell you, make sure like report, I think that's the part yang selalu student make mistake. Dia tak boleh analyse eksperimen, dia tak boleh analyse error dengan betul. Okay, so make sure you learn this. Okay, you check on the instrument part, what you can improve in the instrument, or what error in the instrument that you can discuss in your lab report. Okay, right? Then next, conclusion recommendation. So similar to summary, conclusion recommendation pun tak payah panjang. Basically, it's about 1 paragraph or 2 paragraph, maybe double summary lah, 1 or 2 paragraph. So your conclusion basically ada 3 part sahaja: objective, main finding, experimental error and recommendation. So dia maybe about 1 page lah, 2 paragraph, but only 3 parts: objective, finding yang penting daripada result kamu, dan error dan recommendation. So as I told you just now, sebab tu setiap error ni kamu kena pasti supaya kamu tahu apa yang kamu nak recommend for the experiment. Okay, so that's all. I think I already taken all your time. You got another class, so I will give the slide to you for your reference, and I wish you all the best for the lab. So we won't have any more class, probably we'll have one in week 17, but I will contact you for confirmation. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you everyone, and sorry for taking your